welcome back to the channel. Hope you've all been keeping super well. Today I am coming at you all with a new recipe video. I'm going to be sharing 2 paleo breakfast ideas. These are both recipes that you can make ahead of time and have for a few days, so kind of like breakfast meal prep in a way, which is really handy, especially if you don't have much time in the mornings before you're heading out to work. And of course, as I mentioned, both of these recipes are paleo, so they are gluten and grain free. And then also I'm going to be making them today dairy free, but if you do tolerate dairy, they can be taken up a notch with some cheese. I'll leave that up to you guys and you can modify as you wish and see fit. But yeah, I'm not going to chat too long. If you guys enjoy these types of recipe videos, want more breakfast or lunch ideas, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you are not already subscribed. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to see next. Follow us on Instagram, and otherwise I'm going to jump straight into our first recipe. So the first recipe that I want to share with you guys is for a paleo frittata. Again, as I said before, this is one that you can keep in the fridge for a couple of days and have like a few breakfasts ready to go. Super easy and quick to prepare. You can swap over the vegetables depending on what you prefer. And if you don't like to eat frittata cold, you can definitely like warm that up in the oven in the morning before you eat it. So that's an option as well. Let's go. For this breakfast frittata, you are going to need 12 free-range eggs, 2 medium-sized sweet potatoes, 1 red onion, a couple of handfuls of spinach or kale if you prefer, about 150 to 200 grams of mushrooms, and a couple of handfuls of fresh coriander or parsley. And of course you'll also need some salt and pepper and a cooking oil. I'm going to be using avocado oil. Besides all of our ingredients, the other thing that you will need to make this frittata kind of really seamlessly, especially when you're going from the stovetop to the oven, is a big cast iron dish. So I have this one. It's literally just from Aldi. But yeah, the good thing about this dish for frittata is that it's going to be oven safe as well, so you can cook things off on the stovetop and then pop it into the oven to cook fully through. Let's get to cooking. First things first, I have already started the oven on preheat, so that is on about 180 degrees fan forced, and I am going to go ahead and start dicing up our 2 medium sweet potatoes. I'm going to cook these off first in the oven. So I've cut up all of our sweet potato. I've just popped that into the baking dish that we're going to be making the whole frittata in. Added some avocado oil, salt and pepper, and I'm just going to pop that into the oven for about 30 minutes or until the sweet potato is fully cooked through. While the sweet potato is cooking in the oven, I'm going to start chopping up our other veggies. So I'm just going to dice up about half of this red onion, slice up our mushrooms, and start whipping up our eggs. So I've got 12 eggs here. Also adding in some salt and pepper. Alright, so the sweet potato is fully cooked through, and I'm just going to transfer that into a bowl for the time being. And now I'm just going to pop this onto the stovetop and we're going to get cooking our other veggies. So I'm just going to add in some ghee. Of course you could swap this over for avocado oil or coconut oil if you want to keep it dairy free. I'm just going to start sauteing our onions. So I've just let the onions cook for a few minutes, and now I'm going to add in our mushrooms. Okay, the mushrooms are nearly fully cooked, so I'm going to add in a few handfuls of spinach. I'm just going to do that really quickly, just wilt it down a little bit. Spinach is fairly wilted. I'm going to add in most of our sweet potato. And then we are going to go ahead and pop in our egg. Last but not least, I'm going to pop over some fresh coriander. Also swap this for parsley. So I've just turned the heat off on the stove. I'm going to pop the lid on and pop the whole dish into the oven for about 15-20 minutes. Just keep an eye on it. And again, that's going to be at about 180 degrees fan forced. And if you tolerate dairy and you want to add some cheese, this would also be the time to do it. Okay, so it's been in for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to take the lid off and give that a final 5 minutes just to help it get browned on the top. that is our first recipe pretty much all done. It looks super pretty as well. I really like this as a breakfast option just because you're getting all of the protein from the eggs. Also such an easy way to incorporate like a lot of vegetables into your breakfast. Obviously I have added some sweet potato just to get a bit of carbohydrate in the morning, but if you prefer to have more of a lower carb morning, you could obviously swap that out for some other kind of non-starchy vegetables, so like a zucchini would work really well. That is breakfast recipe number 1. Okay guys, it is a new day and I am coming to you with the second breakfast recipe. I'm going to be showing you how to make some paleo breakfast muffins. These again are like a really good on the go breakfast, so it's something that you could like pack with you to take to work, or you can kind of have it just before you head out the door. And again, it's just a really nice balanced breakfast. So it's going to be high in protein and good quality fats, as well as getting in like a good serve of vegetables at breakfast. So for these muffins I'm going to be using some grated zucchini and mushrooms, but obviously again you can change up the veggies that you put in there depending on what you have. I just find that grating the veggies though does make them kind of meld into the muffin a lot better, so it feels a bit less like you're eating veggies, like it's kind of like sneaky vegetables. I think that's all I wanted to say. Less talking, more getting into the recipe. Let's go. For these breakfast muffins we're going to need 6 eggs, about 3 pieces of bacon, a handful of button mushrooms, about half of a zucchini, a small handful of chives. You're also going to need about 5 tablespoons of coconut flour, 2 tablespoons of tapioca flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, and I'm also going to be using about 1 scoop of collagen peptides. And aside from our ingredients, I'm also going to be using this silicone muffin tray. So you can obviously use any kind of cupcake or muffin tray. I just find the silicone really easy to work with because you can pop out the muffins afterwards really easily and you don't need to use any baking paper. So first things first, once again, I have started the preheat on our oven. So that's at about 180 degrees fan forced. While that's getting heated, I am going to start chopping up our mushrooms and also our bacon. So I'm going to be frying these off in a pan really quickly first before we get on with the rest of the muffins. Okay, so I've just added our bacon into a pan. I'm going to let this go, start cooking that, and then add the mushrooms in a little bit. Not a super fatty cut of bacon, so I'm going to add in like a tiny bit of avocado oil. So our bacon and our mushrooms are pretty much done, so I'm just going to turn the heat off on that one. I'm just going to let that chill in the pan while we prepare the rest of the muffins, and I'll come back to this in a sec. Okay, so we're going to get started with the rest of the muffins. I have 2 bowls because I'm going to be doing the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients separately. So I'm going to start by mixing up our dry ingredients, starting off with 5 tablespoons of coconut flour, 2 tablespoons of tapioca flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder. I'm just going to give that a good mix so that the baking powder and everything is nicely incorporated. And we are going to get started on our wet ingredients now. So I'm going to add in 6 free-range eggs. Just adding in some salt and pepper. And give that a good whisk. And at this point, I am also going to add in a scoop of our collagen peptides. This is just really good for increasing the protein content a little bit. So I'm just going to be adding in 1 scoop. The thing with collagen is that it can tend to kind of clump together when you throw it into eggs. So just make sure that you don't just heap it into one spot. You want to kind of give it like a very even little swish, and then I'm going to mix it, and then I'm going to add in a bit more. So next up, I am going to grate half of this zucchini. Just gonna give it a chop. I'll eat that for dinner. And I'm just gonna grate this up and throw it straight into the egg. And I'm just gonna throw that straight into our egg. Okay, so I'm just gonna fold through the zucchini a little bit. I'm gonna start adding in our flour, just a bit at a time. And almost forgot our chives, so I'm just gonna quickly chop up like most of these. I'm gonna keep a few aside for putting on the top to make them look cute, but I'm just gonna chop these up really nice and fine. And then last but not least, I'm going to add in our mushroom and bacon mix. Finally, we're gonna pop our batter into our muffin tray. As I said earlier, I am going to be using a silicone muffin tray. If you are using a standard metal muffin tray, I would actually go ahead and use some baking paper, but I am just going to put a tiny little drop of avocado oil in each of these, just to make sure that they definitely pop out. And I'm just gonna use a little bit of paper towel, and we're just gonna spoon our batter in. Before these go in the oven, I'm going to put a little sprinkle of chives. I think pumpkin seeds or like pepitas would also be really cute on the top, but we don't have any today, so chives it is. All filled and ready to go in the oven. So I'm just gonna pop them in the oven for 25 minutes and they should be all done and ready to go. Our muffins are all done and these should pop out really easily. So I'm just gonna pop these onto a little wire rack to cool. You can see they pop out really like clean and easily. This is method number 2. Da, 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 da. Alright, so we have already eaten 2 muffins as a snack. Nick is in the background somewhere. So in terms of storage, I am just going to pop these into a container and pop that in the fridge. I do already have some other muffins in here that I made the other day. The other thing about this recipe is that you definitely can double it to make a batch of 12, because I think that would actually be a better number to make at a time. I only own 1 little silicone tray, so I had to do 6. And the other thing is that for a breakfast, I'd probably do at least 2 of these muffins, because it's going to average out to about 1 egg per muffin. So to get kind of enough protein, I'd be looking at doing at least 2 muffins for a breakfast. But yeah, I would definitely encourage you to try these out. They're kind of just like a little bit more interesting than plain egg muffins. So adding in that coconut and tapioca flour just gives it slightly more of a muffiny texture. But yeah, if you do try out either of these breakfast recipes, be sure to let me know in the comments below and let me know how you like the recipe. Other than that, I think I am going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you enjoyed this one and want to see more breakfast ideas, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any other particular videos that you guys would like to see, like if you want specifically breakfast or lunch or dinner ideas, snack ideas, drop a comment below. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram if you're not already. And other than that, I think that wraps up this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Got me spinning around like vertigo. How could I feel so certain, yeah, so ambivalent?